Thanks for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and our guest today is Frank Calderon, Miami-Dade Solid Waste Department. Frank, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
So here we are in August. This is the busiest time of the year for hurricanes, right?
Yeah.
And hurricanes love South Florida.
Yes.
And tell us what Public Works does, the Solid Waste Department does, to help us get rid of our trash prior to hurricanes coming.
Well, yeah. One thing I wanted to just address really quick is, and I'm not the weather service by any stretch of the imagination, but I was looking into it. We're about the midway point of hurricane season. It's been a relatively quiet season. Just 3 storms named, I think, so far. Not a single hurricane yet. And but the NOAA came out with their mid-season prediction last week, and they doubled down. They said we're gonna have I think at least 11 named storms this year. So if that's gonna happen, it's happening in a compressed timeline. So that's why we tell people the best time to have done like all the garden work that you need to get done and bring it to one of our facilities or use a bulky waste pickup was before hurricane season started, like May. But the second best time is now. I think there's something out in the Atlantic that they say might develop right now off the coast of Africa. But from some of the things I said, I've read, it doesn't appear like it's going to be a threat to us, even if it does develop into something. Expect it to take, to bypass the Caribbean, so not be a threat to us. So there's still a little window, a very small window, where you can call for a bulky pickup and get your stuff done. But you need to really move on it if you haven't done it yet.
So people should plan out the work they're going to do, call, set an appointment,
Yes.
all right? And then at that point, take the trash.
Once it gets close to the appointment day, yeah.
So if they put it out front, they need to have it recorded. I mean, they
need to call first before putting it, yeah.
All right. And they can do that by dialing 311.
311 or visit the website, miami-dade.gov/solid waste.
And as I told you before, that site is really easy to navigate. All right. I never did it before. And it's like I put it in and I went, wow. And they verify your address, how many pickups are left, and they ask you where it's going to be on the property. Yes. All right. And what type of products are in it.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's it. To the county's credit, they've made it really simple. Or call 311, they'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
So this is a really good time to look at the trees that are on your property and say, in an 80-mile-an-hour wind, which doesn't do much damage to houses, but it can to trees.
That's about a Cat 1, I think, right. Hurricane, yeah.
And we, for better for worse, the last big storm, we had about 15 trees fall. They all missed the house. We didn't replace them, right? Because we didn't want to have to deal with that.
Again, yeah.
And so with trees, when trees get cut down and they're put out front, you get 25 cubic yards of trash that's removed.
Yes.
If somebody has 3 or 4 trees, does that fill it up the truck? The 25 yards?
I don't know. It depends on the size of the tree, the volume of how bushy they are. If the trees are very threadbare, probably not. But if they're very bushy, that's going to take up a lot of space. That's what cubic yards are, volume. They're not weight. So they might, depends on how big the trees are, though.
And this is a really good opportunity for people when they're out cleaning up the yards to go look in the garage, all right, and say, what else do you have in there? So tell us what people should do with their oil and their gasoline and stuff they don't use.
Well, yeah,
anymore.
in the garage, that's a little bit different. That should not go with bulky waste, and it should not go with your in your green cart. That could go to our home chemical collection centers. Some items could also go, if you're our customer, you can also take them to the TRC. Some items, and you could take to some TRCs, like used motor oil, for example, which, by the way, we've expanded the number of facilities that'll take them. We have, I believe it's up to a total of 8 now. 6 TRCs, and I'm telling you this off the top of my head, it might actually be a little bit more that'll take it. We added 3 where 3 TRCs this year that we didn't have, that we didn't accept oil in before. Check first though, either call 311 to be sure, or check our website, miami-dade.gov/solid waste.
So we've seen, as people are using more cardboard boxes, that the recycling and the garbage is more with that. Do you think there will be a change in the quantity of motor oil that's used in homeowners' lawnmowers as it gets to be more battery operated? You think we'll see that in the next 5 or 10 years, or?
I don't know. It's hard to make a prediction like that. But obviously, if the electric lawnmowers don't use motor oil, then yeah, we'll start seeing at some point a change. We'll start seeing less. We expect to see less. I think people aren't as apt to do, especially with cars, DIY as they were in the past. So, and I think part of that too is if you live in a smaller place, whether, and with real estate being what it is, if you live in your own, you have a single family home, big, you have a driveway, you can do some work. Some municipalities frown on that. Or if you live in a homeowner association, they frown on that. But definitely, if you live in a condominium or if you live in a townhouse, they definitely frown on doing your own work. So the DIY, I don't think we see it as much, but there's still enough people out there that we do have the sites where you can take used motor oil.
So, and as far as debris, there's the TRC, that's Transfer Recycle
Trash and Recycling Center.
There's one by FIU.
We have 13 of them. There's one by FIU, the Snapper Creek one. It's on it's Tamiami Park. It's I think on the corner of Coral Way and 122nd on the west side of the campus, and we have 12 others besides that one.
So up north, Frank, where's just one of them up north?
Well, westish up north, you have Palm Springs North, which is like close to Miami Lakes. And then we have the North Dade one, which is kind of like Midwest, like Miami Gardens. That's by the landfill we have there. And we have the Northeast Transfer Station, which is a little bit closer to Aventura. We do have, we serve Aventura and some of the areas around there as well. And we have the Golden Glades, which is literally just blocks away from the Golden Glades interchange.
So Frank, as we go along with recycling and taking care of our communities, if somebody hasn't been to one of the TRCs, it's an experience to understand about this is what happens. You just don't put it out front and then it disappears. There's a life for that until it gets buried, and even burnt, and even when it gets burnt, there's a life after a lot of the product gets burnt by virtue that electricity is created from that.
Yes.
Which is really tremendous. And speaking of electricity, the county's going to announce very soon, and they're going to have a ribbon cutting for the
very soon. I believe next week.
Oh, for the first battery operated big truck.
Yes.
That picks up those green carts.
Yes.
It's tremendous.
And the beauty of it is that it will be charged at our resources recovery facility, which is where we burn waste or incinerate waste to create electrical energy. So in essence, a truck is going to power itself, not as directly as we saw in the movie Back to the Future, where you put the garbage right in the back in the engine thing, the flux capacitor.
And when was that movie made?
In the 80s.
So they knew that. They just had to figure out.
It's a little bit more indirect, but the process the way we do it. But yeah.
So we're looking for that. Maybe the mayor will be up there, truck jiggling the thing. Anyway, my hats off to the administration for creating that and for bringing that to each of us. And I know it will be the pride and joy. So let's talk about people who didn't need to trim their yards, put the bulky waste out front. After the storm, they got a lot of stuff that went down. All right. At that point, they don't need to call 311. Or
at that point, generally, I mean, we'll make an announcement. It depends on how. And where and how widespread. What we saw with Irma was basically countywide. For us, countywide because we deal with Miami-Dade County, but it was statewide pretty much. But what we saw was countywide, so we didn't make people call and use their bulky waste pickup, and it was going to be impossible anyway. As many as we were going to have to do. So we actually had some contractors in place, and then all we had to do was spot bids. If I recall correctly, I'm not very well versed in the procurement process, but we got several contractors down here relatively quickly, and get started to work because there was a lot of material.
And if I remember, it was pretty prompt. It wasn't like you had to wait. It was like, okay, we got this thing. All our neighbors
we did two passes.
Trash.
We did 2 passes, but we went the first time, picked up the bulk of it, and then we went a second time, pick up whatever was left.
So, for somebody that lives on a farm, I know if during the season, if I don't clean it up before, I'm going to be cleaning it up afterwards. That's guaranteed.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And so Now, one of the things we know, we have our wet season coming up pretty soon.
Oh, it's a wet season. We're in the middle of it.
Yes. So, and we have mosquitoes that if there's a season, this is the time.
Yeah.
Even though I've learned from Dr.
Petrie
Petrie
and Dr. Unlu.
Okay, yes, and Michael Boot. All right, which is it's really the mosquitoes around all the time.
Oh yeah,
but it gets more intense right now.
Intense, yeah.
And so lots of times after a hurricane and it gets drenched, all right, and the ground is really wet, the mosquitoes like get crazy, right? What should people do?
Well, the best thing you could do is, after the storm passes, after it's safe, of course, you're going to check your property, make sure that, just to assess any damage, any vegetation, you're going to try to remove that. The other thing you should do is while you're doing that is any place that can hold water and that is holding water, after the storm, drain it, throw it out, toss it, flip, if it's a container, flip it over, whatever. You probably shouldn't have containers outside during hurricane, before the hurricane, but afterwards, anything that's holding water, because the Aedes aegypti mosquito in particular, the very sneaky mosquito, it'll breed, it'll lay its eggs in like the most hidden, most difficult, most impossible places you would think, no, there's no way mosquitoes could breed there. Yes way, they will breed there. They will breed in the sneakiest, just like the hardest to find places you can think of.
And Frank, there's some plants that actually hold water. That's the way they receive it to feed them. The bromeliads. Right?
Yes.
And it's almost like a cup. That's
yes.
And you can go, and silly me I used to put the water directly in there. Little did I know. And by the way, we have less mosquitoes on our front porch than ever before, because we don't have those plants there. So they can call the mosquito control division. And if they've got a lot of mosquitoes,
yes,
right, they can say, here's what's going on. They've got the county has several hundred traps that are out there.
Yes.
And they know before we know that there's a problem.
The traps are out there. Some people have a misconception that the traps are to actually catch mosquitoes, to keep them from biting. There's no way we could put out enough traps for that. The traps are actually there as a tool. Think of it as how we do the census every 10 years. The traps are a form of census. They tell us the species of mosquito. They tell us if it's a male or female mosquito, and they give us a picture of or a snapshot of how many, generally the population. If we see a trap filled with mosquitoes in a particular area, we know, we got a mosquito problem there. So we'll go out and we'll treat it.
And the county doesn't use planes very much anymore.
It's the last time I remember was after Zika, 2017, and I remember we had to keep postponing it because there was a lot of rain at the time, and I was going on vacation. It was in July, and and I wasn't here for it. I think when it actually flew, I think like the last day before I left for vacation, they were going to fly, and I was out there till the Miami airport until, God knows when. And then
when there's a mosquito problem in a neighborhood, and they can verify it, all right, that they'll go out and they'll send somebody out, they'll look at somebody's property, and if they can verify that it's bad, the county can choose to send a truck out there, right?
Yes.
And they spray. It's immediate, right?
Pretty much they can send it within, they usually send it within 24 hours or something, like 24 to 48 hours.
And once the spray is there, it eliminates the live mosquitoes for a while. But mosquitoes breed pretty quickly. Right, so the ones that are there, it's
1
just
week
going to
cycle.
It's sort of like just managing it. It's not. We don't eliminate it. We manage it.
Exactly, and that's why it's called mosquito control, not mosquito elimination. Yes. But another thing we do is we don't just go for the adult mosquitoes. We will also spray larvicide, which the larvicide's a considerably less harsh than the adult pesticides. And that's just like basically a 1-2 punch against a mosquito.
So we had some cats that crawled on our pool patio screen and they broke it. All of a sudden, we see all these little birds that are in there, and they're eating the mosquitoes that are on the screen. We left it open, right? Because we watch them. They come in, they eat it, and then they leave, and they nest nearby. And so we realized, of course, mosquitoes are going to come in, and we have to be able to balance all that out. There are certain types of products people can put on themselves, whatever one works for them. All right. There's all those fly swatters and on that. But in the mosquito control, people have told me, if you use that,
Mhm.
you're probably going to be killing some other stuff too that you might not want to.
The swatter,
Yep.
especially the electric swatter.
Yep.
So
And so all those beautiful butterflies that are around and some other things are going to be gone. So let's getting back to hurricanes. So hurricane comes. So let's say it's on a Friday. It's here over the weekend. All right. How long is it till the green carts will be picked up again?
we'll pick them up as soon as it's safe. I mean, after Irma, I think we missed that first day, but then the second day we were able to start picking up garbage and recycling.
Yeah.
So just 2 days after, as soon as it's safe and as soon as the streets start getting cleared out enough, we can pick up. Now, what'll happen is, and we'll make the announcements, is if a street is completely blocked off, we're not going to be able to put it to obviously drive in and pick up everybody in front of their house. So we'll tell them put it at the end, at the end of the street. If there's space there, if there's no, we'll ask the whole neighborhood to put their carts out there and we'll come and pick them up. But we'll pick them up almost immediately.
So some folks might think the hurricane is coming, so I'm going to put my green carts out today, and maybe go ahead.
Depends. Okay, if it's coming, we'll make an announcement. Typically, it depends on how far away it is. If we're like in a warning though, hurricane warning, at that point, that's when we tell you to put it inside.
Yeah. So wherever they normally keep it, or maybe a little bit safer place, but don't leave it on the street because that thing's going to be rolling right down the street.
If it's not the wind carrying it, you can look up on YouTube. You can see videos of carts just drifting away with the flood water.
Right. And so then when the storm is gone, you won't have anything to put those in. So when Hurricane Irma came, when was that? What year was that?
That was after Zika. Everything for me is before after
17,
Zika.
18, 19.
17, I believe, because Zika was 16, and I think Irma came the next year.
And we knew it was coming a few days ahead of time. What did solid waste do to help us out on what we should do?
We handled bulky waste pickups differently that time. Now we have appointments. We do try to, get them get as many as we can. That's why we tell you, try to get this stuff, whatever you need done before a hurricane threatens. Before hurricane season is ideal. But we're in the middle of hurricane season now, so if you haven't done it yet, it's too late. So the next best thing is before a hurricane threatens. Right now we've got, it's not a threat, but we have something floating out there that may or may not head our way. Event may or may not form into something, may or may not head our way. So now might be a good time too. But yeah, we do that. The TRCs stay open. I mean, their hours are their hours, but they stay open up until the winds reach 35 miles per hour. And when we announce that as well, and the TRCs are open, by the way, pretty much they only close like 3 holidays a year. So
happy Hurricane Andrew anniversary is coming up, August 24th, I believe.
Yes,
certainly
24th.
A moment in history. Demarcation, was it before Hurricane Andrew or after?
Yeah.
What a great lesson for all of us that things could be perfect, and then in 3 days, people's lives were completely altered.
And I mentioned before that this has been, so far, it's been a slow hurricane season, but NOAA has said that no, it's they're still sticking to their prediction of at least 11 named storms, if I remember correctly. That I don't know if it's 11 named storms or 11 hurricanes, but they're still sticking to that prediction. And now it's a compressed timeline. If that is going to happen, it's going to happen in the span of now 3 months rather than the whole 6-month season. We've only had 3 named storms this year so far, and none of them have been hurricanes. But like as the weather professionals will tell you, it only takes one storm. And guess what, Andrew? That was the first storm of that year, and I think it was the only storm that year.
I think at our young innocent age, we said, well, we've had our storm, so we're not going to get another one. There's no promises on that, right?
No,
it's just going to happen the way that is.
Yeah.
So inquiring minds want to know: will there be a time that the recycling plant or the plant that burns the garbage, that it'll be at capacity, to where you're just like it's running all the time? Are you there now? Is that what you're saying?
I believe they are anyway, because they have to provide the electricity to the city of Homestead, for example. But it's a matter of, the waste comes in during the day, and I think in the evening hours up to a certain point, and then at a certain point they stop bringing in waste, because waste collection usually takes place during the day, in part because remember those trucks with the big arms are picking up waste. When it's dark, they can't see if there's, say, an electric wire above them. So for safety reasons, they don't pick up at night. We do have transfer operations that take place in the evening, but I think they go till midnight, and that's basically taking the big tractor trailers from the transfer stations and stuff. But they're bringing the stuff in, and the pit gets filled anyway, and they have enough to keep going.
So Miami-Dade, Florida, South Florida, Miami-Dade County continues to grow, and we're building all these new apartments and houses where people are going to move into, and they're going to generate trash. County ready to handle all that?
Yeah,
way ahead of time.
Yes.
All right, and that
we plan for that.
Yes.
We plan. We actually sit there and have people who plan out. We work with consultants to help us plan out for future needs.
5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
I get a call a while back from somebody from the county. By the way, out in horse country, there's a plan on the books, all right, for 25 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
That was a few years ago, to have an overpass. All right, I won't say exactly where it is, but it's around horse country. Mm-hmm. I thought you'd like to know. I said, well, quite frankly, I appreciate that, but I'm not real concerned about it. But the county has these professionals that look into the future, say, based upon this growth, this is what's going to happen, and this is what we can do about that. Let's talk a little bit about trash being dumped on the side of the roads. All right, I know it's a big issue for lots of people, and whether you're in an unincorporated Dade County, maybe down in Redland or unincorporated Homestead, if you will. If somebody dumps their trash on the side of the road, talk about back the pickup truck and throw it on the ground. What are some consequences that could occur?
Well, if they get caught, they can get a fine. The fine starts at $250 plus, I think there's a special $10 fee, so it's about $260. The fine can go up into the thousands of dollars, depending on the circumstances. If you've been caught doing it a few times, they're going to hit you with the bigger fine. If you're caught dumping an excessive amount, and I don't know where the cutoff is, but if you're caught dumping an excessive amount, it's going to be in the thousands. And if you're commercial, you start out in the thousands and not the hundreds for a fine. And you can also you're also facing getting arrested.
So down in unincorporated Dade County in the Homestead area, people have been dumping trash on the sides of the road for decades, all right? Because it doesn't look like anybody around is around. But the county has security cameras throughout the county in locations. And I understand that a couple of weeks ago, somebody was monitoring the cameras. And they saw somebody dump, sent the police over.
Yes, we had a real time, because most of the cameras pick up stuff and, just record it. And then after the fact, somebody looks at it and they see the license plate and they track down the person and that sort of thing. But in this particular case, we not that long ago, we had it was a real-time camera, and we had somebody, a waste enforcement officer in the office, monitoring it. And he said, yeah, there's somebody, they're doing it right now at such and such a location. They put out a bolo on the radio network used by be on the lookout on the radio network used by the waste enforcement officers. 3 of them came to the site really quickly.
How much fun is that?
To catch somebody in the act? Yeah. For them, it's got to be great. And they caught the person. They worked with police. The person was arrested.
So when we think about when people do the additional cost that we all pay, is that enforcement, the police, the ticket,
the pickup afterwards.
And I mean, it's a lot of money because they didn't want to take it to the dump
or do the right thing in the beginning. Yeah.
And I do want to thank the county for helping keep 118th Avenue clean. And I do want to thank our senator, our commissioner in horse country, Commissioner Soto, for taking care of us. And thank you for your 30 some odd years of service to us. So, and next thing is people that are littering, which means they're driving into the car and they throw it out the window. During the dry season, I guess when people throw out cigarette butts, there's possibility of it catching fire, right?
I still remember when I was a kid, the Smokey the Bear commercials.
Right. So, but the other stuff, throwing plastic bags and all that stuff out, it's a real pain. And if you ever walk the streets, you realize how much stuff is thrown out of the cars, right?
Yes, I started, you and particularly your brothers commented on my weight loss. What part of it is because I wake up early and go out for a walk, and I see stuff littered all over the place.
So one of the things I do frequently now, if I have a favorite drugstore that I go to, and they try to give me all these bags. they gave me 3 bags the other day. I said, no, I only want one. All right. And I said, as a matter of fact, you can keep the receipt too. All right. Because what we realize is how much that stuff has the lifespan for the consumer of a few seconds. Get the receipt. Maybe you want to keep your receipt, but you know what? Only a couple times have I ever walked back into the store and said, here, I got a problem. And so people can refuse those type of things. I don't want the bag. You can keep the bag. All right. Because that does matter. At some point, the manufacturer will be doing less of those. And as we're getting ready to wrap up, my favorite discussion is those little propane tanks that we use for barbecues. All right. Little ones about this big that outside some gas stations and the U-Hauls and some of the grocery stores, some of them. If it is somebody just has a tank, what do you want them to do with it?
Well, one thing we don't want them to do is to put it in the green garbage cart, even if it's empty, or with a bulky waste, or bring it to well, you know what, the TRC, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to research that and see if they'll take them at the TRCs. For sure they'll take them at our home chemical collection centers, the 2 centers. You know, even if it's empty,
do not put
it in your garbage, because it gets to the you know, they get so much waste. They get tons, a few thousand tons a day of waste there, and if it slips through the cracks or whatever, it can explode. It can explode in the truck, and it can hurt somebody.
Yeah.
So
because it does get compressed.
Yes.
And how many green cans can go into one of those trucks before they have to offload it?
How many green carts? Well, considering that they can do about half a day's work, which is 1,100 a route of about 1,100 homes, they do about 550, I would imagine, and some of them probably have double carts, so I'd say about 500 to 600.
500 to 600 of those green carts goes in one of those trucks. And it gets
ballpark, yeah.
And they pick up the can, they do it like that, then it gets compressed.
Yes.
All right.
But there's only so much compression you can do.
Right. Right. And that is a gigantic number. Do you happen to know the weight of 500 of those cans? I'm going to figure it out just to keep my mind busy in the middle of the night.
The carts are not based on weight. They're based on volume too. The big ones, which is the default that we distribute for garbage, is 96. Some people have medium or small because maybe they're elderly person, or they have a hard time handling the big carts and they don't produce that much garbage, so they might have the smaller carts. But most of them are 96 gallon. It depends, because if you fill it up with styrofoam, for example, that's very lightweight. Or if you fill it up with a bunch of plastic bags, that's fairly lightweight. You fill it up with a lot of food scraps and stuff, that's a little bit heavier, especially if it's wet. So it's hard to tell exactly how much weight.
So, and the blue cans that are out there, it's a different department, different organization that recycles those.
It's under our purview, but it's contractors that pick it up for us. And
during this rainy season, we've got 2 minutes left. Cardboard can go in there, but not wet cardboard. All right.
No, not wet cardboard.
Pizza cardboard cannot go in there. Right.
Pizza boxes, no.
You put bottles in there, cans. All right. Some plastic.
Plastic bottles,
right.
And that can include detergent or water bottles or soda bottles.
So people can go online, I think Miami-Dade.gov solid waste, and they can find what stuff they can put it. Maybe they have some pictures of those things. Or they can call Jean Marie Massey, all right, over there, and she brings out all this stuff, right? A very pleasant lady, and we have a good time.
I think she's coming next week. I need to confirm that with her.
And Frank, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for what you do.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, and I think we're right there. We're going to look right over here. Folks, again, thanks for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and have a great day.